So, let me pray. We got some sweet music going in the background for tonight.
Turn it off.
All right, I don't know how to turn it off, so don't be competing with me. But I'll pray when we get started. Hey, Lord, thank you for this night. Thank you for a chance just to kind of mess around, have some fun, share some laughs, and just speak to us tonight, Lord. Speak through me, speak to the hearts of the people that are here, and just send the message that you want to send tonight. Amen. Okay, so.
I don't care if Eric Morrow was live.
All right, you guys have heard this. Who's heard the phrase, there's no such thing as a dumb question? All right, I'm going to ask a dumb question. All right, how many of you are going to like take a rest and kind of take a break over Christmas break? Like, plan on taking some a nap or two along the way?
Oh, yeah.
All right, yes. Some of you are like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Alyssa, like, how many naps do you think you will take?
Oh, man. Probably like,
Infinity?
well, one a day for sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm looking forward to it as well, taking a break, right? My job doesn't stop, but I started in July, and it was a new job. And then you guys knew my wife's mom was sick, so it's been a crazy few months for me, and I'm looking forward to things just kind of slowing down a little bit as we go into the Christmas break. So that's what I want to focus on tonight is rest, okay? And more importantly, resting in God. I spoke on this last spring. At one time, Keith had me come speak to you guys. I spoke on this topic, but I think it's super important. I think it's one of those things you can touch on every year, and I think it's really appropriate considering we're heading into break now. Because here's the thing, guys. I've said it a million times already this semester, but life, it doesn't slow down, right? You've reached a point of no return in your life, meaning that you're now at a point where everything is just going to get busier. Okay, it's just going to keep getting busier and busier and busier. And as that happens, you're going to have to make the choice to rest in God. So, and understand, I've been doing a horrible job of this the last month. I've had a lot going on. That's not an excuse, but I've done a horrible job of it. And so I'm talking as much to myself tonight as any of you. And I just think, again, it's a great refresher. Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." So I want to start by defining a little bit of what I mean by rest and what the Bible means. Yes, it's talking about rest in the physical, like, hey, physically resting. Yes, it's talking about that mental break, right? A lot of you need a mental break from school right now and everything that's going on in your life. I get that. But what God is talking about, what the Bible defines it as, is an action you do between you and God, right? It's a partnership that you develop with Him. So, for example, let's say you're feeling discouraged, right? Maybe school's not going the way you want, or a class isn't going the way you want, or maybe a friendship or a relationship that you're in isn't going the way you want, and you're feeling discouraged about it. Rather than worrying and taking it all upon yourself, God is saying, like, hey, come to me, pray, right? Ask me. I want those burdens from you, right? And resting in God is also trusting in God, right? It's trusting in Him to, hey, I'm going to help you with this. I want your burdens, and I will help you. Hey, thank you, Luke. You just got that music turned down.
No, you just got loud.
I got muted? That's probably what it was. Wow. Okay. Anyways. That's okay. If you guys hear one of these songs and you like it, feel free to sing along. It's okay. I understand. All right. So what we want to do tonight, you guys, is I want to talk about that. What does God say and think about rest, and then how can we find rest in Him in a world that's always telling us to rush? So let's start with God, and He wastes no time talking about the importance of rest. Right? If you've ever read the beginning of the Bible, the first book in the Bible, Genesis, chapter 2 starts right away talking about rest, and here it is, verses 1 through 3. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work He had been doing, so on the seventh day He rested from all His work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it He rested from all of the work of creating that He had done. So after 6 days, God rested on the seventh and made it a holy day. Stop and think about that. God said this is a blessed day. This is a holy day. Right? That's a serious thing to God. Now I want you to stop and think about that for a second. Why did God rest? And listen to the song while you're thinking. All right? But why did God rest? Okay? Stop and think about it. God doesn't need to rest. Okay, he's God. God, when he says, come to me all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest, he doesn't say, but at noon you have to take a break because I go to Red Pepper to have lunch, and then at night I'm sleeping on my pillow and I'm not zonked out. Right? It's all the time, 365, 24/7. God says, hey, you can rest in me. All right? And you can bring your burdens to me. So why was it? I think this is a great answer. I got it from a book by Kevin Harney. Actually, Pastor Harney used to be my pastor in California. He's got a book called Empowered by His Presence. And in it he says, I believe he did it for us. Right? He was setting an example. He was modeling what his children need to do if we are going to stay healthy, whole, and empowered. Okay, and let me read that last line. He modeled for us what we need to do if we're going to stay healthy, whole, and empowered. Right? And that made sense to me. Right? Because as a parent, I understand right now modeling. Right? I have kids. My little son, who's almost 2, right? He's to a point now where he does a lot of copying. Right? Now, like when he takes a bath, he wants you to pour soap on his hand and he rubs his hands together and he puts it in his hair, right? Because he's seen us do it. Or he sees his mom and his sister comb their hair and now he takes a brush and just kind of like beats it against his head, right? Or this weekend he was around his older cousin for Thanksgiving, and I don't know what he taught him, but now he walks around and he goes, I don't know what that means, but that was a good impersonation. So my point is, little kids, they model, so I get that idea, right? And I think what God was really doing was he was giving us a gift, right? He understood the importance of rest, and he wanted to model it for us, right? It's an example of his goodness, okay? And again, if we look at Exodus, there's another point where God talks about rest. So it's the second book of the Bible, Exodus, and God thinks it's so serious that we take a break and rest that he makes it one of the 10 Commandments, right? Exodus 28 through 11. Hey, they're sad now. They're sad. That music was way better than me. It's okay, though. Thanks, Eric. All right. Anyways, Exodus 28 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Rest is holy, right? So why rest in God? Okay, I want to give you 3 reasons why we need to rest in God. The first one is he wants us to. He doesn't just want us to, he commands us to, as he just told us there. All right, go back to that verse I read earlier, Matthew 11:28. I'll read verses 29 and 30 as well. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. God does not want us to bear the burden of everything. Right? We live in a country, America's awesome, man. We have so many freedoms. Right? But we love our independence. We love our individualism in this country. And one of the byproducts of that is we're very quick to just take everything upon ourselves, right? To put everything on our shoulders and say, hey, I can do it. Right? Hey, you need to buck up and get that done. Right? Hey, pull yourself up. Don't be lazy. Do whatever. You need to just keep doing and doing and doing. Right? That's not God's design for your life. He does not want you to put the burden of everything upon yourself. I think another reason we need to rest in God is it's a reminder that God is in control and we are not. Psalm 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God. Okay, God wants us sometimes to just step back and let him do the work. This one is probably the hardest one for me. Right? I am a figure it out and get it done kind of guy. That's how I view myself, is I'll just figure something out and I'll get it done. But that's not what God always wants us to do, right? Sometimes we talked about this earlier this year. To have a heart after God, sometimes we have to have less doing and more being, right? Be still. All right? There are probably situations in your life right now where it feels like you are just butting your head against the wall, right? And nothing is changing. And that's the way a lot of us are brought up. Just keep going, keep trying, keep butting your head, right? But it's not doing anything, right? And maybe that's that time for God saying, hey, let me be in control. Just take a step back, all right? And let me take control of that situation. I think the third reason why we need to rest in God is that rest allows God to remain Lord of your life, right? it shows him that you're Lord, that he is the Lord of your life. It's an admittance that God is more important than your school, more important than your internship, more important than your job, more important than some relationships, right? No other idols before him. I want to read something from Tim Tebow. Who knows who Tim Tebow is? Right?
Don't know.
So if there's people who don't know, I'll at least explain it. Tim Tebow, very good football player, won a couple national championships at the University of Florida as a quarterback. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, which goes to the best player in college football. But Tim Tebow went to the pros, and things didn't work out very well for him there. Okay, for whatever reasons, his pro career just never took off. Okay, and right after being cut, okay, and this is from his book Shaken, this is what Tim Tebow said. This was the prayer he said to God after he was cut by the New England Patriots. It was the last time he was cut in the NFL. He said, God, I don't know what's happening, and I don't have a clue what you are doing, but I believe you have me here for a reason. I believe you've got a plan. I know this is not the end of my story. I may not be ecstatic about what you have in mind, but I'm in this with you. Whatever happens, I'm in. Okay, so guys, this is a moment of despair for this guy, right? This is a guy who has literally put tens of thousands of hours into being a football player, and he's starting to he realizes at this point his career is over, right? He is not going to play in the NFL anymore, right? And that's his prayer when he realizes that. I mean, think about that. That's any of you that have ever had a dream or something you've worked tirelessly for, to suddenly just see it, bam, it is done, okay? And in that moment of despair, he rested in God, right? He said, you're Lord of my life, and I'm not going to make football my God, right? Whatever happens, I'm in, all right? You are more important, Lord. And so it made me think, like, what is the thing in your life, right? If you looked at your life, would you say that God, Jesus, is the Lord of your life? Or would you say it's school, or it's a sport, or it's a relationship, or it is whatever? Okay, any of those other things that it could be. Just something to think about over break. All right? So what are some practical ways that you can rest in God? I'm going to give you 4 of them here. And again, I think it's appropriate to discuss this heading into break because you've got time on your hands for a few weeks. Okay, I know some of you will be doing things, but you've got more time on your hands at this point. And I think it's a great opportunity to start maybe making some habits. Because again, the study of habits, they say you got to do something like 16 to 20 times before it starts to become a habit. Okay? So the first one is this, and I know I come to this, I say this like almost every time we talk, but you got to see God in His Word and in prayer. Okay? The Bible and prayer. Those are the fundamentals, right? I used to be a coach, a football coach. You guys, I always used to, I mean, you can be great at everything. You can be great at catching the football. You can have people who are fast. You can have strong people. But if you can't block and tackle, you're not going to be very good at football. Those are the fundamentals of the game. And it's the same in our relationship with Christ. We've got to be good at the fundamentals. And I think spending time in His Word and praying is where that's at. Right? Jesus did it all the time. In the Bible, it talks about Jesus went off to pray by Himself. Okay? It's how we can stay in tune. It's how we can silence the noise. It's how we can slow down and come into focus. Again, you guys, if you're not doing it right now, start with just a few days of maybe 10 to 15 minutes of being in the Bible and praying. All right? And try to extend that out to where you're doing it every day over the break. Right? And if you tell me over break, you say, I don't have time to do that, then I really have to question how much Jesus matters to you. Okay? Because I guarantee you over the next few weeks, you guys have time to do that. All right? And more importantly, it's a great way to build a habit of doing it. All right? A second thing you can do, create a Sabbath day for yourself. Give me some time to explain what I mean by this, because God is pretty clear on that in the 10 Commandments, right? It's probably the one commandment we never really talk about is the Sabbath day, right? But when we break that, we are committing sin, all right? First off, it does not have to be a Sunday, okay? Some people, especially college students, you might have jobs on Sunday where you work all day Sunday, okay? But here's a couple things that you can do. Number one, for a Sabbath day, God should be a part of it, right? That day of rest. You should have some time of spending time thinking about God, being in relationship with God. And then secondly, do something that refreshes you. Okay, it doesn't just have to be bumming on your couch, right? Maybe it's hanging out with friends. Maybe it's going for a run. Maybe you like to tinker with cars or motorized stuff. Whatever it may be, just do something that refreshes you. Okay, and I know in college your schedules are weird where you got classes every day and some of you work on the weekends. Just look at that day where you have the least amount of stuff going on, right? And just say like, hey, I want to make this a day that I really make special to God, to refresh myself and to spend time with Him. Third thing, right? This is something I've been trying to apply lately, and I think it's actually been helping a lot, and that is to spend 30 minutes to yourself before bed, right? Unplug from your friends, unplug from your phone, unplug from all the stuff that distracts us, right? And use that time. That could be your time in the Bible and prayer. That could be your time to read a book, to be quiet, to journal. You know, when we were out at our fall retreat, we spent time just being quiet, right? And seeing what God had to say to us, right? Just spend that time. If you really want to hear from God and be in relationship with Him, take time to yourself before bed. And this is the final one. I think it's appropriate to this group. Make time with people who will pour into you, right? Try to spend more time with people who are going to love and encourage you, right? We talked about it earlier that we're spending time now in the holidays around people, and you've probably got family members that just drain you. You're like, oh, they're going to be there, right? Or maybe it's your class that you're in or one of your professors that you have, right? They drain you, okay? Get around people that can pour into you, right? Make sure you are trying to connect on a daily basis with people that will build you up, right? And I hope this group is that one. We've talked a lot about this, our 3 C's of connection, community, Christ. I hope this is a place of community, right? I think we've got still room to grow there, where we are a community that we can turn to one another as people to build each other up, to encourage each other up, okay? So my final thought for today just is that resting in God, that's really trusting in God. Okay, when we say, hey, you Lord, you are in control, you are Lord of our lives, what we're really doing is trusting in God in that moment. When we're willing to step back, right? When we're willing to be still, we're saying, Lord, we trust you. All right, so start viewing rest as the gift that it is and let God use that rest to give some life to your soul. Okay, let me pray. Hey, Lord, I thank you for everyone here, and as we head into break, all the students and then myself, please let us use those few weeks to rest, but more importantly, to rest in you, to have it be a time of refreshment, Lord, where we turn to you and you fill up our soul and our hearts to love you more and to love those around us more, Lord God. And I just pray it'll be a time where we can just connect, we can just be filled up. Because I know right now there's a lot of us that are running on empty. All right? So God, please fill us up. Help us to use rest to get recharged. Amen. All right, if you look again, undcollegelife.com/talks, the questions are in there for tonight. The 3 questions that we have. Please go over those at your table in your groups.